Hiya folks, and welcome to this restoration I did on this Tonka truck mighty loader. It was probably a 1970s model, this one, and definitely in need of restoration. It's well play worn and all the paint had faded. Obviously it was a lot brighter yellow than this obviously originally, but everything's there and it's obviously working fine. But as you can see by the mechanisms, these were really tough trucks. They was. If you had one of these in the 70s, you was a very lucky kid. I never actually had one. I really wanted one, and I'm lucky here that the glass section, which is plastic, is still in good condition. Surface rust on the inside there. No signs of any damage whatsoever, but obviously it has suffered in the weather, I would imagine, being left out somewhere, probably in a shed or a garden. So anyway, time to start taking things apart. And these power files are ideal. These tend to be put together with rivets, and these little rivet caps are very hard to come by here in the UK. And I think I actually bought a batch from America. I had to send off for them because they're readily available over in America. So just to separate the main body now from the cab area. Again, just one spindle that does that. And removing these top caps, I think they're called, or top hat. And these will obviously all have to be replaced. And the wheels there in very good condition, so are the spindles. And everything comes apart so easily. So that's the rear section there. And a lot of Tonka toys tend to be press fitted together as well, and also with these like metal tags bent over. They're probably not really designed to come apart, but obviously if you kept bending them backwards and forwards, they'd obviously snap off. But once in their life ain't going to matter, I don't think. And there are a few rivet caps that you have to drill out. And as I say, all these rivets are readily available. They are a certain type of rivet. They're not your standard type of rivet. And they're actually put on with what you call a pin Tonka toy. A pin Tonka rivet tool, which again I could only get from America. As you can see, the inside has got loads of surface rust on it. Bending these lugs back. Again, just being very, very careful with the way you dismantle these things. You don't want to graunch anything up, because as long as you keep these little lugs straight, they'll go back in the same slot pretty easily. And as I say, you don't want to damage them or bend them in any other way than they're supposed to come out. And just work your way around it evenly and just lever it up bit by bit, and you should find that it should come together, come apart very, very easily. And as you can see there, the internal plastics are all complete, although very, very dirty. You can only imagine that these have probably been played in the garden many, many years ago. And I'm pretty lucky that the plastic parts again are not damaged on this and not been broken off at all. So I think you could probably still get quite a few of these parts, or failing that, you could even get them printed on a 3D printer, I would imagine. So not as difficult now to get these sort of plastic bits as what it probably would have been a few years ago. And very handy tool, the old power file there, as I say, if you're doing these sort of restorations. More so for getting inside little areas where you can't actually get a file or a grinder in, they tend to work a treat. Just removing the last of the wheels, and that will all clean up that lot. Just removing the handle that operates the bucket at the front. Bit like a jigsaw puzzle, that, trying to get that off. There we go. And there are some small nuts on here. So So just undoing them with an adjustable spanner and popping the cap off. And again, little rods that have been galvanised, I would imagine, in their lifetime, but are now in need of a quick polish up. Again, these parts probably aren't designed to come apart, so you've just got to drift these little rivets out and separate every item, because if you're going to do a restoration properly on something like this, you really want to take it completely apart. I've seen people just paint these in one piece before, but obviously where the joins are and the bits in between the joints, as you can probably see, are totally rusty. So the only way to do it is to take it completely apart, as I'm doing here. These probably would have been put together by machines, I would imagine, back in the 70s, I'm not too sure. And as you can see, underneath where the rivets were, you can see all the rust lines that are there, so you really need to take these apart to do it properly. Just applying some gentle pressure there to pop the rivet out. And yet again more lugs on the inside of the scoop there, as you can see, and the rust sitting underneath that. Look at that, look. Just pop the remainder of the rivets out. And there is a number on that. I can't quite work out what it means, but you may know. And again, more of them top hat rivet tops, what you call them. They push onto shafts basically, and as I say, I've got quite a selection of them now, but again, they were very hard to get in the UK. And always make a record of this sort of stuff when you're taking something like this apart, because you will forget, as I did. And lucky enough, I had the video to look at to remind me of where everything went and in what order. So we're nearly there now, just removing the last final rivets. There you go. So that's all the component parts now, and every single one of them's got to be refurbished. So I was lucky that nothing was missing, as I said to you, and nothing was really damaged as such. So it was really just a clean up and a refurbished paint and a reassembly basically. So I think we'll get onto that next. So I'm lucky enough to have a sandblaster, and as you can see, it makes short work of removing any old paint and rust, and takes the metal back to a perfect clean finish for us to prepare for painting in the colour of choice, which again will be yellow in this case. And I do love sandblasting. It's a really therapeutic procedure, and it's also good to watch on video as well. It's one of those things that you could do for ages and ages, and it doesn't get boring. So don't forget, this toy is over 50 years old, I would have thought, and the last time this metal was seen would have been in probably the early 70s, I would imagine. Well, it may have been even 80s, I'm not sure. Could have been 80s. Even so, it's still very, very old. And a lot of people collect these old Tonka toys now. They did quite a variation of them, so keep an eye out for them. So I've decided that I'm going to powder coat these, so I'm going to wash these down with acetone just to get out any of the impurities of the sandblaster. So lucky enough, I've got a decent yellow that pretty much matches the original yellow, although it isn't obviously accurate, but it's close enough for it to be a good match. And this is my Easy Coat powder coating system, which I got from Electrostatic Magic, and this really does a good job. It's a hobbyist kit. It's ideal for doing in your workshop or your shed. It's not professional equipment by any stretch of the imagination, but the results that it produces are very, very good, and it's very reasonably priced as well. I'll leave links in the description below this video if you're interested. All you basically need is a little compressor, and the kit cost about £150, £160 here in the UK. And this is my homemade powder coat oven that I created out of a filing cabinet and an old electric cooker, and in they go, just to be cured, probably 10 to 15 minutes, and then they'll come out. They'll be hot, but when they cool off, that paintwork will be solid and indestructible to a certain extent compared to what it was. So there we go. Once that cools off, that will be rock hard, that paint, and it will be ideal for a Tonka toy. So in with the black bits. That was the brackets for the arm, or the arms rather. And as you can see there, how fantastic does that look, folks? Probably looked like that when they come out of the factory, when they was going to be assembled, before they was put together. So I was well pleased with that. So I'm going to put these metal parts in the MC51 rust remover. This is pretty much like Evaporust, but the European counterpart. And the wheels had water in them. Obviously been left out in the garden for many years, I would have thought. So I needed to get these apart, and I just pushed the centres out with an old socket, and that's tend to push them out. And lucky enough then, it's you can see the amount of rainwater that's been probably collected over the years in them. And there you go. Lucky enough they hadn't turned brittle, so when I did hit them, they didn't snap or break at all. So time to give them a wash now. All the plastics, get them all clean first. Get some dishwashing liquid in there and just hot water, and just give them a good old clean basically. There wasn't hardly nothing wrong with these, as I say, so there was no reason for these to need any special treatment apart from a good clean up. There you go, cleaned up a treat, look at that. So just to push these back in now. They was very, very stiff, these. It would be, it was a Tonka toy. There you go. So time for the reassembly. Again, you want clean hands, everything clean here. And all I'm trying to do now is just to get everything back to as it was. The lugs were a little bit tighter to get back in because obviously they had been powder coated. So I had to be very careful when sliding pieces back together. Just attaching these plastic pieces. There you go, look at that. Just like new. So this is where I had to start putting back together the metal pieces, which did clip together very, very nicely. And then obviously I'm going to need to get some rivets in them. And these are the actual rivets, or the type of rivets that would have been put together when they was new. And this is that pin Tonka toy that Tonka toys used to have to put these rivets together. This was a very dear piece of equipment that I got from America, actually. And as you can probably see there, that was exactly matching the original rivets that would have been used in the factories, although they would have been probably put together on a big press. But obviously this is a handheld tool which produces the same results. There you go, perfect match from the originals. Just bending over them tabs now. Again, I've put a piece of tape over the screwdriver just so I don't damage anything. I'm pressing them down. So back on with the engine, and also the engine hood or bonnet, if you want to call it that. There you go. Looks lovely. Looks just like it was probably all them years ago, brand new. And that powder coating, I think you'd agree, does an absolutely marvellous job for such a cheap kit. More of them rivets, and as you can see, they you can buy different sizes of them rivets, and you have different attachments for the end of this little mini clamp mechanism. So they do come in different sizes. Look, and as you can see there, as it would have been when they were new. Look at that, great little tool, ideal for this sort of thing. Look at that, lovely job. So yet another bracket to go on. This is for the scoop, and just checking on these metal brackets here and things in there that were rusty. And although it comes out black, when you wipe that away, they clean up an absolute treat. There we go, look at that. Just like, again, just like a new axle now. Just a little bit of wire wool was all that was needed, because these would have been plated probably with nickel plated, I would imagine. Just reassembling the arm now. There we go, there's the little caps there. And just levering back the handle for operating the shovel. Look at that. Now to put the spindles back in the wheels, again with new top caps on the wheel spindles. Just reassembling this. And the thing is, if I would have painted this unit, it would have been days and days before I could have attempted to reassemble these. And that's the beauty of the powder coating, where it's dry as soon as it cools off. And just using the socket there to drift on these little caps there. And that is just as they would have been when they was new. So now to bring both units back together, the cab and the rear part. And yet again another cap goes in there. That was probably what the original one looked like in there as well. So just replacing that in there. On with the final pair of wheels. And just to drift that final cap on there. There we go. Beautiful. In with the steering wheel. I did clean the plastic glass up with, I think I used Pledge Revive It. to bring back the shine after I'd give it a good clean. So there you go, folks. That's what we started off with, a tired old Mighty Loader digger from Tonka. And that's the restored version with the new graphics on as well, matching the originals. And I think you'd agree, it looks an absolute treat, and now would live again, but it probably won't get used. It'll probably be just a display piece now, as a toy from an era that we won't see again. All the plastics cleaned up nicely. The mechanism, as you can see, all works nicely. The wheels cleaned up nicely. I did give them a coat of Pledge Revive It as well. And there you go, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out my other videos. There might be something else that you like as well. And until the next video, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.